am Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and I am happy to be here today. I am getting over COVID. It's been how many years since it first started? It's my first time ever having it. Hopefully my last. It wasn't too bad, but bear with me. My brain's still slightly foggy, which is why I have an amazing guest who can carry the show on his own. He is that good. Grant Dziak, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Julie. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to it. For those that are watching, a fellow host on my network introduced us. And when Grant and I first met, I was up visiting my parents up in Washington State. And it was such a fun conversation. So I've been looking forward to this since then. It's been a little while. So welcome to the show. Glad you're here today.
Thank you so much. And I really dig the way you did it, how you cut us off in that conversation. You're like, I don't want to go any further with this. I want it to be real, so genuine, so authentic.
Exactly. Because, you and I, we could have talked forever. And I just I wanted for me to discover more about you with everyone else, because then it's more fun for everyone. And I feel like we get the best questions. So that being said, let's start off with a little bit, if you wouldn't mind telling us about who you are, what you do, and what makes you tick.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much for having me on. This is really cool. So my name is Grant. I'm 37. I live in Port Clinton, Ohio right now, which is my hometown. I recently just moved back here over the past year. I've been traveling all over the country for the last 20 years or so. I lived in Columbus right out of high school. I played football at Ohio State. I walked on, and then I ran bars and restaurants for about 10 years. And throughout that time, I had a huge weight loss transformation. I mean, it was before I understood anything about using social media in any way whatsoever. So it was just like pictures of my dog and stuff, but I lost about 100 pounds. I changed my entire lifestyle. And I guess that was kind of a catalyst for a lot of other things I moved into, because I quickly became like a fitness coach. And when I got into that, I realized really quickly that I didn't really care about telling people sets and reps, but I loved the conversations I was having with my clients, because be down in like a 6-minute plank, and it's like, aside from the tears they were squeezing out just because of the pain they were in, but their physical body was in so much pain, they started talking about like their relationships with their husband, their wife, their children, how their business was falling apart or doing really good, and they didn't know how to embody it. And I started realizing that the clients who I had who were willing to open up and talk about the deeper issues in their life, their bodies were having these massive transformations as well. The other ones who were doing everything to a T, following the nutrition, hitting the workouts, going super hard on everything, but they seem to have all this pent up emotion and energy in their body. They weren't getting the results. So I was like, man, there's got to be something bigger at play. And when I started breaking it down, it was I think it was 2018, when I really dove heavy into like the subconscious work with people. It kind of came out of nowhere. And it kind of led me from being a fitness coach to, I guess, a life coach is for lack of a better term, but that's the biggest difficulty with what I actually do, is that there's one, I guess, metric or way of embodying it, because it pulls in so many different modalities and resources from different aspects and walks of life. So what I call myself is just a high performance life coach. I work with everything from actors, actresses, athletes, entrepreneurs, people with mental blocks, people who just want to live better, want a more quality of life, physically, mentally, emotionally, want to fix something with their body, their business, their relationship. But I'll also get a lot of people who have tried therapy that we might not have worked for. People who are literally at the point where they're like, man, I'm on my last go at this. I don't know if I want to live anymore. And it's really, I'm going to say the word fun, but after talking about something heavy, like people who are like, I don't know if I want to live anymore, it's fun to me. I'm utilizing my pain. I'm utilizing all of my experiences throughout life. And I have this really cool ability because of the way, I think it was the way I was raised. I had a very strong feminine influence in my life, but a very strong masculine influence also. So I always felt like I got to walk between two worlds and mesh them together. So it allows me to feel comfortable and safe and courageous enough to sit in my intuition. And I can hear people, I can see what they're actually saying with the words that they're not actually speaking. And then I can connect it to them.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's funny, because that's kind of how this show came about. Own Your Wellness was because I had a physical transformation as well. I mean, it was remarkable. But the thing that I discovered, because it didn't take care of the mental, emotional, and spiritual side of things, even though I physically had a lot of like phenomenal results, I wasn't actually healthy. And so that's when I discovered too, as well. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to health and wellness than just what you put in your body, like food wise and how you move it. And that's really cool. I'm glad that you were able to have that realization, because it does take how you help people to this whole other level, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's I feel like I've kind of always had this perspective of life, and I felt like I've always like seen people or felt people, whether you want to call it energy work, and I like,
Mhm.
do I ever claim to be like a psychic, a medium, a clairvoyant, or anything like that? But like I truly can feel people. Like I can feel your energy. I can feel what you are experiencing in your own life, and I know how to tap into it within something relative to me. But because I'm not you, I don't have the same emotional attachment, which allows me to see it from this high view. And all of us are pretty much, well, most of us are usually chasing this external attainment or metric to help a void that we feel that stemmed from somewhere in our childhood, or through a trauma, through a pain point, a
Mhm.
compensation pattern that we created. And it's just like, I think of all of this like informed consent. Like once you have all the information, okay, now you can choose. Like if you want to stay the exact same, if you don't want to change your life, if you want to stay in the same redundant pattern and routine every single day, like that's your choice. But at least you know now.
Exactly. Exactly. It's an informed choice. It's kind of like choosing to be sad. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wallow in this for right now. And then, then I'm done after a little while. Like, you can't camp there. At least I can't camp there forever. But I like this idea of knowing. And, I wonder too if part of that intuition and empathy that you have for others does come from having like the dual energy influences in your life, the masculine and the feminine. I really think that it is a combination of the both versus just feminine, which is usually attributed to that. But
Well, I think it requires both because we can say vulnerability is feminine. However, it's because and it's so interesting because I think people have this tendency to look at feminine as female, woman, and masculine as male, and it's just everybody has both energies, and
Mhm.
they complement each other, and nothing exists without the duality. So like guys that are trying to be hyper masculine all the time and ignore any of it are leaving so much meat on the bone by not literally giving themselves the complementary energy of their true masculinity. And it's like, in order to sit in that vulnerability, in order to sit in that intuition, it requires the masculine trait of courage. You have to feel
Mhm.
brave to actually do it.
I like that. And I like the analogy of leaving meat on the bone. I'm curious too. There's people out there that are watching saying, well, you help all these other people, but I'm guessing too that you're not without struggle, and it's not that you don't feel the things yourself. It's just that you have a different sort of viewpoint, even for yourself versus other people.
Oh, hell yes. I mean, like I am not without flaw, and none of us are. And the truth is, it's none of us can see our own shit when we're in it. Ultimately, at the end, it's like because you have your own emotional attachment, and I'm no different. So I have coaches, I have mentors, I have guides. Um, I have like we all have to have those people that can point things out to us. And at the point where if you're the coach, the mentor, whatever it is, and you think you don't have anything more to learn, then you're dying already. Like because you have nowhere else to grow because you've already told yourself I know everything, and it's like one of my favorite sayings is the more I learn, the less I know.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like just keep going with it. But I mean, like of course I have all my own stuff but I need it. I utilize it because that's how I relate to everybody, and that's what I think we do. It's kind of weird is we all try to resonate with one another and find common ground around like look at my Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
To this is the insecurity that I'm feeling inside, and you feel it too, and you feel it, and I feel you feel it, and you feel it, and everyone starts going, yeah, that is me, because we all these ideas of a house or these very tangible material things that we think we're communicating something to the world because we think we're not allowed to communicate that, man, like I'm not doing okay, like I'm struggling. We all have such stigmas around it that I think ultimately Like we're actually afraid to help each other out sometimes, because if I help you out with that, I'm acknowledging that I have the same thing in me, and we're afraid of the world seeing us. And we go out all the time, and it's this idea of like, if you stand in front of a mirror and you only put your arm out in front of it, all that's going to get reflected to you is your arm. But you can't stand there and be like, oh my God, why is all of me not being reflected? Well, you're not showing yourself. Every relationship you have is a reflection of you in some form of, or another. So if you aren't putting yourself all the way out there, you're never going to feel fulfilled, because you're never having all of you, all of everything that you are. And it's not to be like, oh, just your greatness, everything that you are, the good, the bad, the light, the dark, every aspect of it reflected back to you, because you're scared. So you're only putting your hand in front of it. So it's like, man, if you want to be seen, you got to stand in front of the mirror.
It's fascinating you would say that, because I saw a therapist for a while, and he was talking about one of my triggers being like this idea of me not being seen. And and I thought, that's really not that unusual. I think a lot of people have that issue. Like they want to be seen and heard. But like you said, if you're not willing to be seen and heard, then how can you expect to be?
Well, what you just said, actually, I just wrote it down because I was like, I don't want to forget that. Because that's the defense that so many people give. They go, well, I don't think it's that strange that I'm like this, or I don't think it's that uncommon. I think everyone feels like, and it's like, great, but do you want to feel that way? Like,
Exactly.
you want to feel that way. Like, we can sit here and I can be like, well, yeah, everyone's afraid to fail. It's like, that's great. But if it's stopping you from doing the things that you want to do in life, like, you're going to be, it's like that whole idea of, uh, when you hold resentment towards somebody, it's like having poison for them, but you're the one drinking it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care about my justifications anymore. And I realized about 10 years ago, I was like, I can justify anything. So what we always we justify our emotions. We justify
Mhm.
our emotions in our body with the thoughts we create in our brain. And your brain's only set up to keep you in survival, pain avoidance, and energy efficiency. So it's going to keep you on this constant loop of survival, because it just wants to do what it knows. So habits. So we'll habitually wake up in the same pattern all the time, thinking we have to protect ourselves and save ourselves. When you do that, you take away all your creativity.
Yes, you do. Oh my goodness. I was thinking too the other day, my cousin and I were talking about, I think it was the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, and how in our society we are trained to make stories about everything, and how we create these stories. And it's like we have to have a story in order to justify even our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, instead of just letting them be what they are and letting them move through us. And I thought that was really interesting, because, some people who, we were talking about having marriages, because she had a not so great marriage, and how she said, I didn't have to have a bad marriage in order to want a better one. And I just thought that was so deep, because we're like, some people just stay in things because they don't have a good enough story around it. It's like, why
Yeah.
can't you just know intuitively what it is that you want and realize that you deserve the things that you want and need?
Oh man, you're hitting on all the things, because they're all required for the other. So it's like, if you think about things like permission, love, acceptance, validation, relevancy, all these things, like ultimately these are all kind of like our human needs. So we're all kind of
Mhm.
the exact same. Now, I say this with a caveat to make sure it's understood. I'm not saying everyone deserves the same trophy, but we're all born with the same needs. So we're at our core. Strip away take away our race, our religion, our sexual identity, all the stuff that everyone uses today to separate ourselves. And at our core, it's like we're literally all the same. We're all on the same journey. We're all on the same mission. We're all trying to figure out how to fulfill those human needs that we have, and that's
Mhm.
actually what our habits have all done. And that's what the idea of protecting ourselves. So at a young age, we start learning, like, take permission. First, we ask our parents, like, "Can I stay out late?" And then it's teachers, like, can I go to a bathroom break? And then it's coaches, can I have a water break? And then it's professors, can I have an extension on the midterm? And then it's bosses, can I have next week off? Where we literally spend our entire life seeking all these things outside of us, not realizing we're actually the ones that can give ourselves permission, condition ourselves for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And we get to the point
Mhm.
where we're like, who am I to give myself permission that what I say is good enough, or my validation is good enough, or my love is good enough? I need someone else to give me that permission. So we continuously seek all these things outside of us. Kind of like, I call it like Facebook syndrome, like status syndrome, like where people will be like, oh, we're not even real friends if we're not friends on Facebook. And it's like, why? Because the whole world needs to see it. And that's a don't you. Like, that's a gift to give yourself. And I think that's one of the I had to condense down what I do to a little snippet, I bring people home to themselves.
Mm.
So into their body, into their thoughts, understand their body and their mind without the conclusion that they are their mind and their body, as opposed to the consciousness getting to experience this world.
Do you know Neil Donald Walsh, the author?
I've heard him. I heard him. I haven't read any of his stuff.
Well, he wrote Conversations with God and is like his series that, and he's a fascinating man. And one of the things I always get his morning snippet, email something that's like positive and it's a message from God. And this is something that's I think would resonate with you is that one of them, and I have this like printed out and put up and this whole thing it's your and it always felt like he was talking directly to me, but I feel like this is meant for you as well. That it is your job to help people find themselves again. It's like, oh my, and let them shine. So it's kind of like, wow, to bring them back home to themselves. It's just like, wow, you just said that. Like, that is such an amazing mission. And it's something that, you're talking about this whole idea of permission, but it's also not only that, but we're taught that the answers are outside of us, like everything. Like, instead of saying, do I want this, is like, can I have that? And
Yeah.
we don't even ask ourselves, is this even what I want? Versus,
well, I think that's one of the hardest things for anybody to acknowledge is what they want. It's it's like, all you got to do is look at yourself and go, okay, how do I respond at Christmas time or a holiday, opening presents or gifts in front of people? Most people are so uncomfortable doing it. Well, why are you uncomfortable doing it? At the moment that you're about to say thanks or you would give like feedback, it's even putting your finger like inside that wrapping paper to pull up the flip of it is uncomfortable to a lot of people, because it's going, I'm showing the world that I think I deserve this. And by thinking I deserve it means I think I'm worthy of it. And I truly, in my core, I don't think I'm worthy of it. So it's like the same way you can give someone a compliment. And I always say, it's like guys do this to each other in the gym. They're like, oh, bro, you're looking so good. Just trying to look like you, man. And it's like, everyone deflects. We deflect everything right back. And something really interesting that's been pointed out to me lately is when somebody says something nice to you, like, you don't have to say you too or the exact same thing right back. You can say thank you. Mm-hmm. Like, truly allow yourself to receive. And people struggle to receive because people don't know how to be, like, literally have gratitude in life, because we always feel like we're lacking something. So lack is going to feel like the opposite of abundance and having anything or the ability to receive. But gratitude is the emotional signature of receiving. So when you can get grateful for the life that you have right now, and people are like, oh, my life's horrible. How could I possibly do that? Or I'm 400 pounds, or I'm going through bankruptcy, or I'm going through divorce, whatever it is. It's like, dude, if you got air in your lungs, a heartbeat in your chest, like, you have literally everything you need. You can do it. It might suck right now. I'm not trying to take that away. Like, this year has been the first half of this year was hands down the hardest of my life. I went through a lot of change in my life. I lost both of our senior dogs. Separation from my wife, and it's all these things. And at the same time, like, I am so grateful for all of it. I'm so grateful for the emotion that I had to experience that came with it, the pain with it, because I learned a long time ago that, like, you don't change, you don't evolve in places of comfort. So you want to talk about fitness, it's like we literally go into the gym with the intention of failing. Like, because you're actually not getting anything out of it. If you just sit there and you pick up the same dumbbell every single day and you do the same weight, the same reps, the same sets, you're not going to change, because you are not giving yourself a stimulus. So if you're going through something so uncomfortable in life right now in this moment, or you have in the past, and you can't figure out how to use it to your advantage, it's like, you got to realize nothing exists without its contrast. So as you're carving out your capacity for pain, you're simultaneously carving out your capacity for joy, love, everything you do and experience. So when you start realizing these things take so much stress out of you. It, like, literally takes stress away from you. When you take stress away from you, you're letting your nervous system relax. You're turning off the cortisol that's just like on constant IV drip through your body, and adrenaline. Your system starts responding to things. Guess what? That nutrition that you're trying to follow, your body starts responding to it. Those workouts that you're doing, you start getting the results you want. How many people do you talk to that are like, I work out, I go to the gym, I watch what I eat, but I don't get any results. Nothing changes. And it's because we're always in this elevated state.
Oh, you so speaking my language. We do need to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. But I just want to dig deeper into this idea of, having that mental and emotional component in the wellness and how that is like the secret sauce. And we'll talk about that when we come back. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer, and you are watching Own Your Wellness, and our amazing guest, Grant. Welcome back to the stage.
Hey.
So during the commercial break, I was thinking about how you're kind of like this secret weapon. And, there's a lot of people out there that are saying, I've done all these things, and yet I'm not getting these results. What does it look like to work with you? I mean, I know that everybody's different, and the term life coach is so overplayed, but what does it actually mean to work with you?
So that's a great question. And I love the way you said that. So the biggest thing when people say that I've done all these things, I've tried all these ideas, concepts, routes, whether modalities, whatever you want to call it, if you didn't get the results, it's because you didn't embody it. You didn't actually take it in. How often do we throw money at a coach and not actually do the work, but we justify it to ourselves because we're like, I'm paying someone. And it's like, you can throw as much money at somebody as you want. That does not do the work for you. You have to actually change it yourself. People will ask me when they're signing on with me, they're like, what's the guarantee? I'm like, what do you mean, what's the guarantee? They're like, well, what are your guaranteed results? I was like, you're the guarantee. I was like, my guarantee is built into the framework of my business on my behalf. This is selfish. Everything I do is so selfish because I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I don't get anything out. Dude, I get the biggest high out of it. I get the biggest high out of working with my clients because it's and utilizing my pain points, my shortcomings, the things I've failed at in life to utilize them to help somebody else not have to go through it. So I think there's two routes in life. I think one of them is we experience pain and we go, man, I had to go through it, so you're going to have to go through it. And it makes us feel better. And there's another route. And I think this is the less desirable one for a lot of people and the less chosen one because it's a little bit more difficult. It's a lot more difficult. It goes, I went through it and I don't want anyone else to ever have to experience this again. And so it's like when you work with me, it's like having a secret weapon that's really like a big brother and a Swiss Army knife in your back pocket at all times. It's really interesting because there's been a lot evolving with my business lately because I work with both men and women, and I know we're in this time where, you know, I get pushed a lot and asked a lot if I'll take on just men and you know, this idea out to the world. But at the same time, what I think I do for women is I show women an idea of what is possible to find in a man. And it feels a little cocky and arrogant, like saying that, but I attribute that to the way I was brought up and also my perspective and my viewpoint, and as well as some of my trauma in life. You know, I have pain around an abusive father who I didn't feel able to protect my mom or my sisters when I was really young, and some things that happened with my sister, and something just so it's like this idea of this. I feel so fortunate to have had the combination of experiences that I've had in life to give me the mindset and the outlook on things that I do to truly want good for other people, because it's not like I'm sitting here going, oh, it's all about everyone else thriving. It's that I've come to realize that when I help others do that, I do that as well. And I think so many of us focus on a me first centric, which is, it's interesting because we do and we don't. We seek like to get those feelings we were talking about, like permission, validation, love, acceptance. We seek those out from everybody else when really that's what you need to get to yourself.
Yeah.
But then we turn it around when we feel like we're not getting that from everyone else. We become selfish in this way of like holding everything tight and I'm angry at everybody. When the reality is you need to be selfish first, because selfishness is the only way to get to selflessness. So I teach people how to be selfish, create the relationship with themselves. Like I'm a true believer that I think the greatest love story of your life should be you with yourself.
Amen.
That you are everything you've ever needed. And if you don't give that to yourself, you're by default going to show up into any relationship, friendship, intimate relationship, family, with your hands out, looking for someone to give you something, as opposed, and then we say things like, oh, I just love to take care of people. No, you're asking a question. You have an expectation on the other end of that. But if you've already given that to yourself, you're overflowing. So it's like, you're just giving away the excess of what you have.
Exactly. So I have this friend, Chris Salem. He's a speaker and a coach, and one of his sayings, and I've been saying this for years, it is to give without restrictions and receive without resistance. And I just love that saying so much.
Yes.
Because it
Especially
really
around people, especially I think people need to experience that around finances.
Yes.
Because it's energy. Like, so
Yes.
when we get really afraid, when we don't think we have anything, we hold everything so tight. And when we hold it tight, we are restricting letting it go out. So we're also giving a resistance to it coming in. So
Yeah.
it's like, just as easy as you let it go, it'll come back into you just as easy.
Exactly. It's that flow. It is the flow. Because if you're holding on tight, it's not, how's it going to get in through that barrier? It's kind of, it's
Yeah.
the same idea. No, I love that. You know, I don't think I told you this, but I used to work in addiction recovery. So I have been to, I couldn't even tell you how many A meetings, AANASA, I mean, OA. I've been to like every sort of anonymous meeting you can imagine. And I always used to find some of the sayings rather trite. However, they all seem to be so accurate. And the one that always sticks with me is in order to keep what you've got, you have to give it away. And I always love that because not at your expense, but you have to keep that flow of energy going and pay it forward. And I just always thought that that was kind of a beautiful thing to say because you can't hoard it.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know?
Yes. Yeah. I think we're at a time in life where, I mean, if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're over the age of 20. And if you're over the age of 20, you've at least gotten to the point where you've had enough compounded beliefs and things around you that majority of things are your nervous system is activated. You're operating from a place of thinking everyone's out to get you. So you're perceiving threat in the world.
Mhm.
And it's like, because of that, like you're locking down. So when we start operating from a place of fear, and your nervous system is activated, well, all your other systems shut off. So, like your excretory system, everyone says, "Oh, I can't poop. My digestion's awful." What does everyone else say? I have no sex drive. Guess what? Your reproductive system shuts off too, because all your body's so cool. All these systems are shutting down to take all of that energy that was going to those and channel it to survival, because all you want to do is stay alive. So that, why do you think we're so sick all the time? Because your immune system shuts down too. Because it doesn't matter if you get over the cold next week, if you have someone pointing a gun at your head today, because you're going to die before you get the opportunity to recover. So we find chronic illness, chronic inflammation, all of these issues ongoing with the body. And
Mm-hmm.
the biggest problem with that is you can't think greater than how you feel. So people want to change, but they don't feel like it's possible because their body hurts so damn bad. So it's like someone wants to start losing weight, they go to the gym and their body just hurts. So it hurts to even walk upstairs because they don't take care of it. They don't honor it. And that doesn't mean diet and nutrition. That's the thoughts that you have. It's like, what are you consuming? Or what kind of information are you consuming? What are you looking at on social media all day? It's insane to me. We're in a time where, with like a lot of the work I do, every now and then I'll have people that are like, "Oh, let the professionals handle this, or let the professional therapists do this and this." And I'm like, you can talk to the therapists that work with me, that are my clients,
Mm-hmm.
because what I do isn't therapy. And it's like, what are your certifications in nutrition? Are you a licensed dietitian? I'm like, so we're so focused on all these credentials for everybody, yet we have like one of the like suicide rates are at the highest they've been since the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're like insanely obese. Like it's absolutely unreal how unhealthy we are as a country and as an entire world by and large. Um, and it's like we don't have any awareness around these things. I was like, so something in the system's not working. Something
Mm-hmm.
is not working out. Why are people like stuck on pharmaceuticals all the time and they're not getting better? It's just keeping them in the system where they have to keep purchasing more and more pharmaceuticals. And then you got insurance and you have all this shit. It's like everything is set up to keep you sick.
It
And
is.
and your thoughts control what happens in your body also, and then what your body feels controls the thoughts that you have, and they just feed off each other back and forth. And it's like, if you don't start understanding that symbiotic relationship that happened between the two, now they do work that way, but you can reverse that and you can make them work the other way in your favor.
You'll appreciate this. I've called the healthcare. I call it's sick care. It's not healthcare. It's sick care. What we're doing is, how we choose to. I mean, I'm sorry. Let me just start over because I'm like so excited about this. I
I
can't.
like I like where you're going with it already.
Well, I was thinking too about this idea of what we put in our body, but not just food. Like you said, what are we consuming mentally, emotionally as well? What is it that spiritually, even, what is it that we're taking in? Even if you go talk to a therapist, if you have depression and anxiety, that most likely they're going to put you on a news fast. Well, why do you
Mm.
think that is? Trust me, people will tell you what's going on in the world. You do not need to sit there and
Yeah.
watch it for hours.
Well, I mean, like, look at like, to me, one of the craziest things was, this isn't even diving into like conspiracy theories or anything like that, but you look at like during COVID, well, all the numbers that they were showing on tickers were the worst possible ones, where if you
Yeah,
didn't look at it, some days it'd be death. So you're watching this big number of death toll, and then all of a sudden the number's astronomical the next day, but the metric is something completely different, but they don't show you that. So
yeah,
you just more fear, more fear. They tell you all the worst possible things. Everyone tunes into it. So what happens? All of our immune systems are shutting off because we're all in fear. We're all afraid. We think we're a threat. It's the equivalent of, like your body and your brain aren't like here in 2024. They are still part of the evolution from 200,000 years ago to when we really evolved about 50,000 years ago. And it's like, it's set up around like the tribe not coming back. So when you starve yourself, your body doesn't go, oh, what's that shirtless Instagram selfie you wanted to take next week, or that wedding you're going to, or that vacation you're going on? It's like, man, we don't know when the tribe's going to come back, and
yeah,
and that we have to prepare for that. It doesn't think, oh my God, you're struggling with imposter syndrome. So the mechanism that fires is the same thing as you have a mountain lion about to chew your head off. So the same chemicals release in your body, and they respond the same way. So you literally feel plagued and paralyzed by the fear of Jimmy up the street making fun of you because of the next post you make on social media that might help your business. So you don't help your business. So you have a threat there. You have a threat from Jimmy up the street. Your aunt twice removed might make a comment at Christmas if you talk about that. It's like we spend our whole lives closing ourselves in across the board, and then we get resentful at the world, and like then it's difficult to go, oh, I did this to myself.
Exactly. You said something earlier that I wanted to just touch on before, is that we could justify anything. And that's all fine. I've had justified anger and justified whatever, but is that actually serving us? And I mean, ultimately it is. It's drinking that poison. So I'm curious, we've been talking a lot about fear and the chemicals being released in our bodies. And we all know nobody is immune to any of that. How do you personally remind yourself or bring yourself back to center when your brain starts to just go bananas?
Yeah. So it's like anything else. I could sit here today, or let's base it around health and fitness. So it's like you can tell somebody who's trashed their body for years, and they want to change, they want to lose some weight, they want to get healthier, they want to get in shape, and you go, okay, I know you've eaten McDonald's every day for the last 30 years, but it's going to take you changing and eating this way. You're probably not going to see any actually tangible results for about 8 weeks. And we go, oh, cool. Okay, cool. Like 30 years or 8 weeks, done. I can do that. And on the surface, up front, short term, we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Great. Well,
Mm-hmm.
3 days into that diet, all of a sudden you're like, I can't do this. This isn't going to work. And it's because your subconscious starts taking over your long-term memory, the thing that says this is not the way we act or behave.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how beneficial a new behavior would be to you, your subconscious is always going to take over. And I always think of it around like, if I told you I was going to give you $50,000 if for the next 30 days you brush your teeth with the opposite hand, tomorrow you're going to go in and you're going to pick it up the same damn hand. You always do it. And you're going to go, oh, shit. And you're going to switch it over. And
Yeah.
day two, you're going to go in, you're going to pick it up with the same hand again and go, oh, God, I forgot. You're going to do one or two things. You're either going to get into such a habit of just going, oh, man, I just messed this up all the time. Or you're going to go, the benefit that I could get from this is so drastic that I need to change something. I need to manufacture my habit change. So maybe I need to take the toothbrush and set it up on a shelf. And I have to interrupt my pattern. Because I'm going to go brush my teeth. And you don't even think these things. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you decide you're going to brush your teeth, your body naturally reaches with the right hand to grab it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so at the moment I go to reach for it still, and that toothbrush isn't there, I now just created a pattern interrupt. And that's all you have to do. You have to create an interruption in your pattern, in your sequence, in your daily routine, your activities, the way you think. You go to those places of fear. You go to those places of habitually horrible, horrible thoughts. And you have to realize if you just sit there, and we'll call that anxiety, because every time people get anxiety, we have this tendency to like get on a couch or something or a chair where we feel like our back's against something, so we have less threat around us. So I at least know I'm in a corner and everything's out. But then we sit there and we become a sitting target for that anxiety, because that's habitually what we do. And then as we sit there, those thoughts get bigger and bigger and bigger and worse and worse and worse, and we have less of a chance to get up and move, because
Mm-hmm.
that's habitually what we do. So you have to interrupt it. So go move your body. And looks like choosing yourself. So when I started making these changes in my life, it required me to choose myself. It was the most uncomfortable thing. It doesn't feel comfortable. Literally, to tell someone who's having horrible anxiety or struggling with depression, it's like, stand your ass up, move your body. It's like, wow, what is that going to be? It's like shooting a BB gun at a freight train. And it's because that's based around emotion, and emotion is just energy in motion. Change the motion, you get a different emotion. If you take it upon yourself to change the way your body's moving, you are going to experience life in a completely different way. And I'm not talking about working out. I'm talking about gross motor movement. If you're having a really intrusive thought, you have to choose to stand up and shake your arms, jump, dance, move, whatever it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
always think, because you experience a feeling in your body first, and then your brain justifies it. Your body's a recollection of every emotion you've ever had. Your brain's a recollection of every memory you've ever had. So it's like kind of trying to match cards. So it's like, I have this feeling, I need to match it to a memory, because like you said earlier, you always want to be able to identify things and put it in containers and boxes and labels, and can understand it, because we think if we can see it and understand it and have it labeled, it can't hurt us. And it's like, at that point, you have to realize this isn't serving me. This isn't, so I don't know what it's going to do. And let's take it to the extreme. If these habitual intrusive thoughts lead me to a state of depression, and this habitual depression leads me to a state of going, I don't know if I want to be here anymore, then you're at the point where you're already like, I'm willing to die for it. So if you're really willing to die for it, like, are you willing to live for it? Like take that chance
Mm.
to like jump in and try something new. Like it's right there. It's right there. You just can't see it because you don't know what the outcome could be on the other side because you haven't experienced it yet. Your only anecdotal evidence that you're attached to so strongly is the pain from the past. And I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza that this talks about it, that up to 6 months removed from a trauma or a pain point, up to 50% of your experience is now manufactured because we'll start justifying it because what was once this thing, that's not intense enough for me to still be struggling with it now. So I bet, anyone listen to this, if you go back and you look through your stories that you tell at maybe every holiday or why you are the way you are, it's
Mm-hmm.
like that story's actually expanded so much. It might have started out as a stub toe to the point now where it's like, I had to get my leg amputated because it doesn't justify me being off from work anymore.
Yeah. Oh no, that's so beautiful. That is so true. I love that. On that note, we do need to go to our last commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation and talk a little bit more about the idea of pattern interrupting and how we can use that to our advantage. Because I think that people out there don't realize that that small movement, that small change can make ultimately a huge difference. So we'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to bring Grant back because we are running low on time and I want to talk as much as possible. So, welcome back. During the commercial break, I was thinking about everything that you've said, and it's fascinating to me because I think I always had this question. Let me just back this up. I always had this question. The book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and how like it works, but yet nobody ever seems, it's like one of the most read books and there's not a lot of millionaires and billionaires out there. And it finally dawned on me. I was like, because people don't do the actions because they think it's too small or it doesn't make sense or whatever, or won't matter, all the things. But it's kind of funny to me because, like you said, just getting up, jumping around, throwing out some music, just actually moving, how that can change something ultimately, significantly. And it really is like sometimes, like if I'm really upset, I will clean my closet. I clean it up and now I've got more order in my life. I did something on the outside. I feel cleaner on the inside. It's kind of fascinating how we can do that with ourselves. But the thing is when we are feeling this anxiety and this depression, what is the last thing you want to do? Move.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just, I think that for me, one of the best ways to, I don't know, get into the habit of doing that is to create the habit when you're not exactly in crisis. What is your thought about that?
So I call it a sober mind. And it's when I used to run bars and restaurants, we were all like, the staff was always allowed to come in and, you get whatever, half off your tab, which means you could have a pretty good time. And, but I would always tell them, like when I was hiring them, I'm like, if you ever drink and drive, I will fire you on the spot. So right now, with the sober mind, before you're in that state, tell yourself, I'm absolutely not going to do this. Absolutely not going to do it. So it's not just me telling you that. It's not an external source. It's your inner voice pulling you, because anytime that I've been intoxicated, you have that moment where you're like, oh, I can totally drive. And then you have that thing that goes, don't do it. And you're able to sober up a little bit within yourself. So it's to me, the sobriety is the soberness against those chemicals, that the depression, the anxiety, the pattern that we stay in all the time. So you have to create a plan for yourself when you are in a better state of feeling, of do. So what would I do if I was experiencing something bad right now? Well, I'm going to get up. Maybe I'm going to go for a drive. I'm going to go down to the beach. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to change my thought pattern. I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to do anything to interrupt the whole system that's going on. So I can list these out. Now, when that moment comes, does not mean that I don't think I can still drive my car home. It doesn't mean that I don't still have these intrusive thoughts that go, oh my God, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to crouch down and I'm going to be afraid of everything. It means I have this go-to plan to know what to do. And at that point, it doesn't matter. Like, I have to tell myself in advance, I'm not going to want to do that. So when I don't want to do this, I have to do it. I just have to do these things. And it's exactly what I meant earlier by, like, you have to choose yourself. And by it's that future version of yourself, the version of you that's going to get the rewards, that's going to reap the benefits of that. And it's like, I always tell everyone, I'm like, F your feelings. And it's not like your feelings matter. It's the hell with your feelings right now, because now are what are keeping you from getting to what you could experience and feel in the future of accomplishment, fulfillment, joy, happiness, love, all of the things that you crave. And when you get there, you're going to look back at this and be like, oh man, I'm glad I let that shit go, because now I have all of this.
Exactly. It's kind of fascinating too. I think about, like, bringing it back to the gym. All the times that I have never wanted to go and I still go anyway, I never sit there at the end of my workout and say, oh man, I wish I'd never gone to the gym. Or if I'm feeling slightly bad and I still go, I always feel better afterwards, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. So it's kind of like, if you could just get over that hump and do it anyway. I always like to call it, I don't need to take my emotional temperature before I do things.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have
Well,
to do
I think we're always so attached to what our presumed expectation of the outcome is going to be,
it.
and like we have this really bizarre idea of, when we have emotional investment in something, of how long something should take. And like,
Yeah.
it's something we've been done. And it'll be like, oh, I should already be at this point by now. It says what? Like, is there a manual somewhere that said this is how long it's going to take? And if you're not, you suck at this thing. And it's, I bet you haven't even let yourself suck at it. And that's the point, is like, anytime you start, if I pick up a guitar today and I try to start playing it, I'm not going to be good at it. Oh, I'm going to start a business tomorrow. I'm going to file my LLC and I should probably make $10 million by the next day. Otherwise, I'm a failure. And it's like, what? Like, where do you get this from?
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice I got from a coach when I was starting on my entrepreneurial journey was, it was just a thought. It's going to take you longer than you expect and cost you more than you think,
Yeah,
no matter what it is. And I've always thought of that whenever those little voices creep up and say, you should be here by now, or
yeah,
you
yeah,
should have this by now, or it shouldn't cost. No, 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 no. Like you said, who said? Why did I put this arbitrary, I don't know, limit on myself as to what it's supposed to look like? And then,
yeah.
have you noticed too, when you expect things to look a certain way, you miss the way it should or could be, potentially, because you're so focused on what you think it should be.
Yes. Yeah. It's like when we think we know where we're supposed to end. Like, to me, the only time you're lost is when you think you know where you're supposed to be. And it's like, but you, right now, this moment, and this moment, like, this moment's never been experienced, and this moment's never been experienced before. So how do
Mhm.
you know? Like, how do you know? And it's just your brain's craving of normalcy and familiarity. So you actually are kind of trying to replicate your past continuously because that makes you feel safe, all the while going, I don't want to experience the past, but you're the one bringing the blueprints from the past and just like duplicating it over and over and over and over and over and over. That's your habitual pattern now. And the moment you can accept that, and the moment you go, okay, like maybe I am doing this, is the moment you can start creating change in your life.
I love that. Oh my goodness. We are almost out of time. We only have about 3 minutes left. So I'm just curious, do you have any final thoughts that you'd love to share with the audience, or maybe even a point that you'd like to reiterate?
My mission in life is for everyone to know that there's always a better way to live. No matter where you're at, no matter what you've experienced, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much love you think you have in your life, there's always a way to optimize it that much more and be able to experience it that much better. And that it always comes down to three things. Your life comes down to your body, your business, your relationships, your mind, body, your soul, health, wealth, love. They're all the same thing. And you have these pillars in your life. And if you make those be your priorities as opposed to like cut out all the middlemen of the cars you think you have to have the relationships, or the body that you think you have to be seen in this world. And it's like, you have it right now. If you're alive, you have these things right now. And it's like, if you're stuck and you feel like life is impossible, start taking care of your body immediately. However that looks. Go to the gym, change the way you eat. That choose yourself in this regard, because you start changing the way you feel, you'll change the way you think. And it's not going to be when you have to lose a bunch of weight. You are literally going to release the chemicals, the feel good chemicals, the moment you start progressing towards a goal. You do that, it's going to allow you to start showing up to your relationships that much better. And at the end of the day, life is not about money, cars, any of these things. It's literally comes down to relationships. And it's us constantly trying to attain all these things to try to be good enough to be accepted by the rest of the world, because all we truly crave at our core is relationships.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's the thing too, is like, I was talking about this yesterday. It's like, I've had all the things and I've had all the money and I've had all that stuff, but I still didn't have what I needed here and here in order to even enjoy those things. I'm not saying I don't want them. I'm just saying that that wasn't the answer to fill
Right. Yeah.
those needs. It wasn't the answer to fill it. Anyway, Grant, I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been so much fun. I would love to have you back on my new show that I'm starting soon, because I think that you would be such an amazing guest for that as well. So hopefully you'll say yes. I'm putting you on the spot.
100%. 100%. I'm so in.
Awesome. I appreciate you very much. And everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. I want to pop up Grant's website one more time real quick in case you didn't get it before. Get it now. Go take a look. Reach out to him. You'll find his social media information in the show notes as well as on social media. So I'm sure that that's another good way to reach out to you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love talking to people. Don't ever be shy.
I love that. That's great. All right, everyone. Until next week, enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you for watching. We will be back again on Thursday. See you soon.